What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Francisco. This is Stream Gear Talk, and today I'm going to show you step by step how I set up my microphone audio. Although I've done this video in the past, how I set my mic up now is quite a bit different. So with that said, let me walk you through the gear that I'm using, and you don't have to have every single piece of gear that I have here to be able to achieve this, but I will tell you that the setup leverages the Elgato ecosystem because, well, as you may or may not know, I am an Elgato partner, and while we're on the topic, this is a sponsored video. Of all the gear that I'm going to talk about today, the Elgato XLR dock for the Stream Deck Plus, the USB hub for the Stream Deck Plus, and since it's in camera frame, I might as well say it now too, the Wave Mic Arm Mark II, those three items were sent to me for free, in the past for purposes of reviewing and creating content around those products. Everything else, the Wave DX and the XLR itself, the Elgato Wave XLR, I purchased those with my own money prior to becoming an Elgato partner. So several of these items were gifted. This is a sponsored video, and I think I've covered everything I need to cover as far as disclosure is concerned. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first, what you're listening to right now is the Elgato Wave DX, which is their XLR dynamic microphone with no plugins whatsoever. The only thing running on it right now is Elgato Voice Focus, which helps eliminate all the noise going on in your background, such as your PC fans, your AC unit, people in the rooms next to yours talking, laughing, giggling, screaming, etc. Any sort of noise that is not your voice, Voice Focus pretty much eliminates out of the signal completely, thus allowing it to focus on your voice entirely. That's the only thing I got running. What you're listening to now, besides Voice Focus, is basically the Wave DX raw. Now that we know that it's a raw signal that we're working with right now, and it's what you're listening to now, the first thing that I always do when I'm setting up a microphone is I clean up the signal. And prior to maybe a month or so ago, I didn't even realize that the VST plugin load order was a thing, and it actually matters and affects what happens to your microphone signal. And I want to go ahead and take a moment to thank Night Owl, fellow YouTuber, fellow Elgato partner, for clarifying that. He makes phenomenal content. You should 1000% check him out. It's not a plug for him. It's just, I see something, I got to call it out. And this guy is amazing. So please check out his channel. I'll have a link in the description down below. But load order does matter. And what he suggested is that you add in all the plugins that clean up your signal first before you EQ it, okay? So we have Voice Focus already into the mix. The next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and add in the compressor. Now, all the plugins that I'm using here today are all the Elgato version of their respective plugins. You can get these through the Elgato Marketplace, and you can access Marketplace directly from Wavelink, from your preferred web browser, or even from the Stream Deck app itself. I've already downloaded and installed all of them, but in your case, you're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. Let me just show you actually, since I know you're going to want to see this. So if you go to your mic channel right here and you hit the effects button at the bottom, you're going to go ahead up here and click on Explore Marketplace, and bam. It's going to automatically open the page up to Elgato Wavelink effects. You have noise removal, don't bother. It's great, but with Voice Focus already integrated into the mix, you don't need it anymore, all right? You have the equalizer, you have the compressor, and you have the de-esser. These are the three that you need to get if you're trying to replicate what I do, right? So with that said, you're going to go to the effects button down here after you hit get the effect here. Let me show you that too, sorry. So you click on the one that you want to get, you hit get, and it automatically download it and install it to Wavelink. Once you do that and you have all the effects, you go to the effects icon at the bottom, you're going to hit add effect, and we're going to start with the compressor. What the compressor does is that it basically takes your entire microphone signal, and as the name implies, it compresses it. It keeps everything in a nice, stable, consistent range of volume, if you will, to the point where if you get too loud, maybe you got an excellent kill in Arc Raiders, or you just got murdered as you were trying to extract and you start screaming into your microphone, you're not going to get louder beyond the top threshold of the compressor. And the adverse is also true, where if you're speaking low and quietly into the microphone, it's not going to come in as quiet. It's going to actually boost that up a bit so that everything stays within that range. With Elgato, the compressor setup is actually going to walk you through on how to set it up, as you can see here. So it says, hey, let's compress your voice. We're going to go ahead and hit proceed, and there's going to be a sentence that it wants us to read. Vocal compression is the secret to sounding pro. Let's do this. Bam. All right. I'm going to hit proceed, and I'm going to take this slider and I'm going to cut out like the very tippy tops of my peaks, if you will. I'm going to hit finalize. And then the very next thing that I do is I go here to the menu. I disable auto makeup and I take the gain and put it to 1 dB. Ratio stays at 4:1, attack stays at 20 milliseconds, and release stays at 150 milliseconds. Congratulations. Compressor is now set up. Next, I'm going to go back to the effects icon here at the bottom. I'm going to add effect and I'm going to add the de-esser. Same as compressor, we're going to click the microphone icon here and I'm going to read the sentence in front of me. De-esser, smooth the sharp S sounds. Boom, it is done. Tuned to your voice, our de-esser is now smoothing out your vocals. You can close this window, will keep running in the background. I don't go to customize. Whatever it shows up with right here is what I let it do, and that's it. And I close it out and we're done. I have now officially cleaned up my microphone signal. I have voice focus turned on, I have a compressor set up, and I have a de-esser, because when I hit those S's, T's, and C's, my voice can be quite sibilant. And sibilance is annoying to hear in a video, in a stream, and definitely in a podcast. It can be very harsh and it can create a very uncomfortable listening experience. So if you find that your T's, C's, and S's are very sharp and harsh, definitely use a de-esser. Now, the reason that we clean up the mic signal first is because that is what we're going to use to then equalize our mic signal, okay? If we were to try to EQ first, then the compressor and the de-esser would work based off of the equalized signal. And you're sitting here taking all this time EQing your microphone to get it to sound the way that you want it to, and then you slap on a compressor and de-esser, it's gonna change how it sounds. You're gonna be unhappy. I'm going to be unhappy, and it's just going to be a very bad day. So that's why you clean up your signal first, so that you can get what you wanted to start off with as far as sound. You're eliminating noise, you're compressing the signal, and you're reducing the harshness of your S's, T's, and C's, and then you equalize off of that. And how we do that is very, very easy now. In the past, it used to be hard, it used to be difficult, it was a very intimidating thing, but in 2025, I simply use ChatGPT. Before we get into ChatGPT and using that to EQ our microphone, we need to record a small sample of our voice using our now cleaner microphone signal. And in order to do that, I use Audacity. So if you do not have Audacity installed yet, just get on your preferred web browser, look up Audacity, download it, install it, and then we're going to set it up real quick. You're going to open it up. We're going to go to Audio Setup, Recording Device. If you're using Wavelength 2.0 or earlier, earlier, you're going to select Wavelength Microphone Effects, parentheses Elgato. If you're using Wavelength 3.0, you're going to have to create your own mic-only mix, okay? You add your mic as a channel, and you're going to create the mix and add nothing else to the mix except your microphone. This microphone will already have voice focus turned on. It's going to have its compressor, and you're going to have the de-esser already in there, and that's it. You add nothing else to that channel, you add nothing else to that mix, and that mix will be in this list instead of microphone effects if you're a Wavelength 3.0 user. Whatever the case may be, find your mic, add it in, and you're done. And now we're just going to record. This is Francisco with Stream Gear Talk, and this is the Elgato Wave DX. I want this sample to be used to help me equalize my microphone. Done recording. I'm going to go ahead and export this audio to my computer. GPT test 2025 2. It's already saving it to my Audacity file. Wonderful. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our web browser of choice, and we're going to go to chatgpt.com. This is how I do it, okay? So in ChatGPT, you're going to start yourself a new chat. It says, hi, I need help equalizing my mic. I will upload a sample recording. Please use that to help me EQ. Here is the gear I am using. Elgato Wave, learn how to spell, DX, Elgato Wave XLR, audio interface. All plugins being used are the Elgato ones. So this means I am using the Elgato EQ plugin to EQ. All right. You want to tell it the gear that you're using, and then you're going to tell it what sound you want from your microphone. The sound I want is the warm, smooth broadcast sound with some clarity in the high end. That's it. That is all. That's all you gotta do. Just tell it what you want and what you're using to get what you want. Perfect. Once you upload the audio sample, I'll be able to help you out, blah, blah, blah. All right. So we're going to go to my file explorer, here, here, here. Let that load in. And then GPT test 2025 2. Bam. Drop that file in, upload that. And now we wait. And it's done. And the first thing that it typically does is that ChatGPT will analyze that recording and tell you about your voice based off of that recording. So for instance, for me, it tells me that my low mid energy is very strong, my upper mids and highs are quieter, my true lows are present but not excessive, and sibilance is well controlled. Now the reason sibilance is well controlled is because I already have the de-esser doing its work. So after this, it's going to verify what you're looking for. This means that the perfect EQ for your voice is warm, smooth, broadcast-like with controlled boom and added clarity, which on paper, so far sounds exactly like what I'm looking for. Now, the next section is going to be the actual EQ itself, all right? And let me go ahead and move some things around over here, bring Wavelink into the mix here, and we'll do that. We're going to go to the effects icon in Wavelink. We're going to add effect, we're going to add EQ, and it's going to open it up right over here, okay? Let me expand that so you guys can see clearly. Now, this is just a very generic, right out of the box EQ setup over here. I double click on each dot to disable it. And we're going to start from number 1. High pass filter at the 70 Hertz range. So I'm going to go to 70 Hertz by holding it and dragging it over. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to set it as a high pass filter. Double click it to activate it and we're done. This removes rumble and frees up headroom without thinning your voice. Number 2, low shelf or warmth control. So we're going to go to a low shelf at the 140 Hertz range, which means we're just going to add one here. Go to 140. We're going to add a low shelf and we're going to bring that down to negative 1.5 dB. Bam. And what's the Q value? The Q value is 0.7. So to change the Q value in the Elgato EQ plugin, you just need to scroll your mouse wheel while hovering over the dot up or down to increase and decrease it, right? So 140 Hertz, negative 1.5 at 0.7, we're done. Mud reduction, my most important band. It needs to be at the 250 Hertz frequency here. So let's move it over. Bam. And we need, oh, Jesus Christ, drop that down by 3.5. That's hella aggressive, but okay, we hear it out. 250 Hertz with a 1.1 Q. Bam. Presence boost. We need a bell at the 3.2 kilohertz. So that's 3,200. So we're going to add one in. We're going to scroll it all over here, get as close as we can to 3.2. It looks like 3.209 or 3,209 is where we're going to be at. And that needs to be boosted by 2.5 dB, which is also kind of aggressive, but okay. 2.5, 3.209. And the Q value here needs to be set to 1. Done. And the last one, the last adjustment here is air and high-end smooth boost. Your sample had low energy above 6 kilohertz. This brings your voice to life. We need a high shelf. So we're going to right-click this dot. We're going to change it to high shelf. We're going to double-click to activate it. And then this needs to go to 6,500, which is pretty far in. We're going to go there, right underneath it. And then that's going to be a boost of 2 dB. That works, 6,526. And the Q value here is 0.7. So bam, and we're done. And that's it. Let me go ahead and save this real fast. I'm going to call it GPT Test 2 2025. And ladies and gentlemen, I have just equalized my microphone. Okay, so after listening back to this EQ and this setup, I gotta say I'm very pleased with the results that we have so far. I did have a moment where I doubted the second adjustment that we made, where we added in, I think it was a low shelf. Yes, a low shelf into the boom and warmth area over here, as you can see. So I deactivated it, and this is how it sounds now without that adjustment. And I'm gonna go ahead and monitor now. So in my headsets here, or my headphones, sorry, people will get mad at me for saying that. It sounds a little too boomy still, right? But if I reactivate it, it sounds clearer. I still have some boom, some warmth to it, but it doesn't sound like it's drowning out everything else because of how low and boomy and warm my voice can be. And when I played this back through my speakers, it sounds absolutely incredible. So this is how I have my audio set up for my microphones in order to record and to stream. However, there is one more thing that I do in post-processing. Now, with the microphone completely set up, the only other thing that I do to achieve the mic audio quality that you're hearing is I add a limiter in post. So for example, I have a clip here in DaVinci Resolve that I've dropped into my timeline. I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Audio Effects. You go to the Effects tab up here. You're going to go to Fairlight Effects, and right here, you see Limiter, okay? Assume that I have a timeline full of multiple clips. You have two options over here. You can drag it and drop it into the clip itself, which would apply that effect to the one clip, or you can drag it and drop it into the entire track itself, which is what I do. Once you do that, you're going to see this little menu pop up, and we're going to go to Ceiling, and we're going to hold it with our mouse and move it to our left and bring that dial back all the way until we get to negative 12.0. Right there. That's it. Now, any portion of my recording that would have exceeded negative 12 dB no longer does. And it's actually helped out clean out my audio massively. So that's it. That is how I have my mic audio set up. I use the Elgato ecosystem to take advantage of the plugins and how smooth everything works together. I am using the Elgato Wave DX. This will work with any microphone. It doesn't matter what you're using, so long as you have, at least to do it the way I do it, access to Elgato Wavelink and the marketplace, etc. It used to be in the past that in order to access Wavelink, you had to have Elgato hardware, but thankfully, as of about a month or so ago, there is a free version of Wavelink available to anybody, regardless of what hardware it is that you're using. So if you haven't done so, download that, install it, and get it set up, and just follow my steps here. I realized I didn't cover gain at the beginning of the video. I just remembered my mistake. My gain is set to 45 decibels on the dot. Let me double check that. I drop down here. Yes, so it says 20 dB here in Wavelink, and that's because I have a cloud lifter connected to my Wave DX. It doesn't really matter. The cloud lifter helps, but Wave DX doesn't need cloud lifter, okay? I have other mics that I like to play around with and test out, and I do need a cloud lifter for those. That said, in totality, the total gain I have set is at 45 dB of gain. You could either set that here straight to 45, or if you're using a signal booster, then you just, do the math. Cloud Lifter adds 25 dB of gain, clean gain into the signal. So I just added 20 more in the Elgato Wavelink in the Wave XLR. Either way, that's it. That is how I set up my mic audio. I know this was a lengthy video. Thank you for sticking around. If this was helpful, and if you achieved the results that you wanted to achieve with your mic audio, do me one thing. Put a comment down below saying that it helped, like the video, and maybe share it if you don't mind. So I'll have links to all the Elgato audio related gear that I use in the description below. They are affiliate links. They will be incredibly helpful to the channel. If you decide to purchase any of them using my links, I do get a cut of the sale at no additional cost to you, mind you. And while you're at it, if you're going to be shopping at elgato.com throughout the holiday season and Black Friday, etc., I will have my discount code down there as well. So until next time, you be good to yourselves, be good to one another. Peace out.